He looked like any other tourist causing trouble at Buckingham Palace, throwing trash, mocking traditions, filming it all for laughs. But the Asian visitor had picked the wrong guard on the wrong day, and the security camera he never noticed was about to expose a truth that would turn his viral moment into his worst nightmare. Before we witness how one piece of trash changed international relations and revealed the true meaning of diplomacy, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because sometimes the most powerful moments happen when no one thinks they're being watched. The October morning at Buckingham Palace buzzed with its usual energy. Tourists streamed through the gates, phones ready to capture their brush with British royalty. Among them, concealed behind professional cameras disguised as tourist equipment, a Japanese documentary crew led by director Kenji Nakamura. Their mission? Capture authentic tourist behavior and the legendary discipline of the Queen's Guard for a cultural documentary that would air across Japan. What made this morning different wasn't just the hidden cameras. Unknown to the crew, among the tourists, walked Dr. Lee Mei-chen, South Korea's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, enjoying a rare day off during her diplomatic visit to London. Elegant and poised despite her casual attire, she blended seamlessly with the crowd, her government security detail maintaining a discreet distance. At his ceremonial post stood Royal Guard Thomas Fletcher, 26 years old with 5 years of impeccable service. His scarlet uniform was pristine, his bearskin cap perfectly positioned, his rifle held with the precision that had earned him 3 commendations. But today felt different. Yesterday's news of his younger brother's death in a training accident in Cyprus still echoed in his mind, though military protocol demanded he maintain his post regardless of personal grief. He hadn't slept, but he stood, unwavering, emotionless, a symbol of discipline to the hundreds of unaware tourists passing by. The morning progressed normally, until Park Jin-ho arrived. The 30-year-old social media influencer from Seoul had built his following on provocative content that pushed boundaries. This trademark, humiliating authority figures for viral videos. And today's target was the supposedly emotionless British Guards. "Watch this," Jin-ho announced to his filming companion, pulling out his phone. "These guards are just paid statues. I'll show my followers how pathetic Western traditions really are." His first attempt was subtle, making faces, waving his arms, trying to provoke a reaction from Fletcher. When that failed, he escalated. From his McDonald's bag, he crumpled the wrapper into a ball and hurled it at Fletcher's chest. The paper bounced off the pristine red uniform and fell to the ground. "Dead inside, just like I thought," Jin-ho laughed, recording everything. "These people have no soul, no pride. Watch this." He pulled out an empty soda can and threw it harder, striking Fletcher's shoulder. A few tourists noticed, some looking uncomfortable, others beginning to film. Fletcher remained motionless, but Nakamura's hidden cameras captured the almost imperceptible tightening around his eyes. What Jin-ho didn't notice was Dr. Chen watching from 20 meters away, her face growing pale with embarrassment as she recognized her countryman's voice speaking Korean. Her security detail shifted closer, reading her body language. "Sir, that's enough," an elderly British tourist called out, stepping forward. "Show some respect." "Respect?" Jin-ho spun around, his phone still recording. "For what? A man in a costume who can't even defend himself. This is entertainment." He reached into his bag again, this time producing a half-eaten apple. With deliberate malice, he hurled it at Fletcher's face. The fruit struck his cheek with a wet slap, leaving juice dripping down his chin and onto his ceremonial uniform. The crowd gasped collectively. Several tourists stopped filming, uncomfortable with the escalation, but Fletcher remained still, military discipline overriding every instinct to respond, even as the sticky residue stained his immaculate appearance. That's when Dr. Chen could no longer remain silent. "Enough!" Her voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to commanding rooms full of diplomats. Striding forward with her security detail, she addressed Jinho in rapid Korean. "What do you think you're doing? You're embarrassing our entire country." Jinho's eyes widened as he took in her elegant bearing, the subtle but expensive clothing, the professional security team. "Who are you?" "Someone who will ensure your behavior has consequences," Dr. Chen replied sharply. "You've assaulted a member of the British military on their own soil. Do you understand what that means?" Before Jinho could answer, palace security arrived. The incident had been reported, and within minutes, Jinho found himself in plastic restraints, his phone confiscated, facing charges for assault on a serving military member. But Dr. Chen's intervention wasn't over. As Jinho was led away, she approached the senior security officer with her diplomatic credentials. "Officer, this man is a South Korean citizen. I'm requesting consular access and immediate review of these charges." Her status changed everything. Within an hour, Jinho was released pending diplomatic review, his charges suspended while government lawyers negotiated. Fletcher, meanwhile, found himself called before his commanding officer to explain why he'd provoked an international incident by failing to de-escalate the situation. "Guard Fletcher," Colonel Morrison's voice was ice-cold. "Your inability to handle a simple tourist situation has created a diplomatic crisis. South Korean officials are claiming their citizen was acting in self-defense against intimidating behavior. Sir, I maintained protocol throughout. Breath connect plus tension block, protocol that resulted in an international embarrassment. You're suspended pending full investigation. Gavel Heitbart subtle plus silence. 5 years of exemplary service erased because he'd followed every rule while being assaulted." As he was escorted from the palace grounds, still in his stained uniform, he passed Jinho and Dr. Chen, leaving through the main gate. Jinho caught his eye and smirked, making a mock salute. What none of them knew was that Nakamura's documentary crew had captured everything in stunning 4K detail. Multiple camera angles showed the entire incident: Jinho's deliberate escalation, the unprovoked assault, Fletcher's stoic discipline, and the subsequent miscarriage of justice. That evening, as Nakamura reviewed the footage, he faced an ethical dilemma. 27. The documentary was meant to show cultural differences respectfully, but this footage revealed something darker: the abuse of diplomatic privilege and the persecution of an innocent soldier who'd done everything right. The next morning brought crisis. Dr. Chen sat in her hotel suite, surrounded by Seoul's diplomatic team, as news of the incident spread through social media. The Sunsep, Jinho's original video showing only his harassment without context, was being shared as an example of British military intimidation of Korean tourists. Click CTT. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed her deputy back in Seoul. "Minister Chen, the foreign minister wants your assessment. Should we lodge a formal protest about military intimidation of our citizens?" Chen stared out at London's skyline, weighing her response. She could protect Jinho, defend South Korea's position, and advance her career, or she could tell the truth about what she'd witnessed. Slow, reflective, omniscient. "Actually," she said carefully, "I think we need more information before proceeding." That afternoon, Nakamura made an unprecedented decision. He requested a meeting with palace security, offering to share his footage in exchange for permission to film the resolution. When they gathered in a secure briefing room, the documentary evidence was undeniable. The footage showed Jinho's calculated harassment, his escalating assault, Fletcher's perfect discipline, and most damaging of all, Jinho's smirk as the innocent guard was led away in disgrace. One horror. "Gentlemen," Nakamura addressed the room, which now included Dr. Chen. "This footage will air in our documentary next month, unless, of course, there are objections." Dr. Chen watched herself on screen, seeing her initial intervention from an outside perspective. She looked like exactly what she was: a high-ranking official using her position to protect someone whose behavior she couldn't actually defend. "Mr. Nakamura," she said quietly, "what would it take for you to reconsider including this footage?" Female, Korean, subdued, tone uncertain. "Justice," Nakamura replied simply. "Your countryman assaulted a soldier who was grieving his brother's death. That soldier is now facing career destruction for following orders perfectly. If justice were served, there would be no story here worth telling. The room fell silent. Dr. Chen closed her eyes, seeing her career hanging in the balance. Then she thought of Fletcher's face as he was led away, dignity intact despite injustice. "Officer," she addressed the senior security chief, "I need to make a formal statement. Yesterday, I witnessed an unprovoked assault on Guard Fletcher by Mr. Park Jin-ho. My intervention was not to protect a victim, but to prevent further escalation by the actual perpetrator." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. With her statement, the diplomatic protection collapsed. Fletcher's suspension was immediately lifted. Jin-ho faced renewed charges, and Dr. Chen faced the prospect of explaining to Seoul why she'd contradicted their official position. Narrator. That evening, as Fletcher returned to his quarters in full dress uniform with his record cleared, he found Dr. Chen waiting outside the barracks. Fletcher Doggan, "Guard Fletcher," she bowed formally. "I owe you an apology and an explanation." Fletcher strategy smath. She told him about the footage, about Nakamura's ultimatum, about her choice between career advancement and justice. "In my country, we have a concept called jung, a feeling of compassion and loyalty that transcends personal benefit. You showed jung by maintaining dignity under assault. I had to show jung by telling the truth." Fletcher studied her face, seeing genuine remorse. "Ma'am, what will happen to your career?" Slight pause. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I couldn't let an innocent man suffer for my countrymen's behavior. Some things matter more than politics." 3 days later, Nakamura screened his documentary for both governments. The final version included the incident, but focused on its resolution, how truth emerged, how justice was served, and how two people from different cultures found common ground in doing what was right. The documentary won international acclaim, not for the confrontation, but for its message about integrity transcending borders. Dr. Chen faced a disciplinary hearing in Seoul, but the global positive coverage of her honesty led to her promotion rather than punishment. Jin-ho faced justice, paying fines and performing community service, while issuing public apologies. Fletcher received a commendation for exceptional discipline under extreme provocation and was personally thanked by the South Korean ambassador, who called his restraint a masterclass in professional military bearing. Belending the circumpare two Spreffren covered it, saying the century. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came at the documentary's London premiere, where Dr. Chen and Fletcher met again, this time as honored guests. One they may? Let's trying Dr. Chen. And that was be forward in 5 years of the updates of South, as some kind of the rights works outed. That works into works outed. When if the updates of South, why will prevents the right South? Why will get effect by South? Was something too. You want to make it out 5, that it's 1 million. One after Chen is in I believe me when you always get effect, doctor. You know, Fletcher told her during the reception, my brother always said the measure of a person isn't whether they make mistakes, but whether they make them right. Thank you for making it right. Dr. Chen smiled, raising her glass to doing what's right, even when it costs everything. Nakamura captured that moment too, a perfect ending to his documentary. Two people from different worlds united by the universal language of integrity. 6 months later, Jin-ho uploaded a different kind of video, a formal apology filmed at Buckingham Palace, where he volunteered to clean the grounds as part of his community service. It wasn't the viral content he'd planned, but it was the content that finally made him proud of what he'd created. Because sometimes the most powerful videos aren't about humiliating others, but about finding the courage to humble yourself. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't in standing still under assault, but in standing up for what's right. And sometimes the most important cameras are the ones nobody knows are rolling. What would you have done in Dr. Chen's position? When career success conflicts with moral obligation, which path do you choose? Share this story with someone who needs to remember that integrity isn't about never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to correct them. And remember, The whole world is watching, even when you think no one's there.